What up guys, today I'm gonna go over my favorite deadlift accessories, but first I wanna give a big shout out to Michael Marino for letting us train and film at the world famous Fight or Quit in Las Vegas. In my opinion, it's probably one of the most powerlifting centric gyms in Vegas, so if you're ever here, make sure you come check it out. All right, so my favorite deadlift accessories are actually the classic conventional accessories that have been proven over decades of use, and every time I use these, I get good results on my deadlift. So my first favorite deadlift accessory is the front squat. And why this is important is it helps train speed off the floor. We've heard many times that when you're pulling conventional, it's a push-pull type of movement, right? Like you're pushing through the ground and then you're pulling with your upper body. So with the front squat, that's exactly what you're doing with your legs. You're pushing through the ground, driving with your quads. And my second favorite bonus of the front squat that is very talked about a little, or literally talked about a lot, or little, you know what I'm trying to say. People don't talk about it that much, but the front squat strengthens the mid-back like crazy because it takes a lot of mid-back strength to keep the bar from falling forward. So if you've ever not front squatted for a long time and then you do it, one of the sorest places that's gonna surprise you is actually your mid-back. Your quads might be a little bit sore, but if you haven't front squatted in a long time, you're gonna hit the front squats and a day or two later, you're like, dang, my mid-back has been hit in a way that I've never trained before, and that's why I like the front squat, because your mid-back is also responsible for the upper back rounding. So if you got a strong mid-back, you keep that back straight through the whole deadlift as you're grinding, and that's why I like it. So we're gonna move over to the deadlift bar, and I'll kind of show you the position that you're in to engage in that push-pull. When you're setting up for a conventional deadlift, you put your feet here ever so gently like a ballerina, and you put the other one here like a salsa dancer, and you move it. No, I'm just kidding. So you set your feet up, usually shoulder width apart, right? You have it on the ground and you have it screwed in, which is activating your glutes, and you can see that my quads are tight, knees out, right? Not too much out, but just enough where everything is engaged. So when you engage with the deadlift, as soon as the shins touch the bar, you want to activate the lats, right? When you activate the lats, now this is where the push-pull begins, where you're literally pushing with your feet through the ground and you're pulling up and your body is almost unhinging in that way. So you're going like this and you go front squat and boom, and it comes off the ground. And that's why I like the front squat, because it trains you to be able to not be so back dominant. Because a lot of us, when you come from like a bro training background, you probably got a strong bench, you know, strong chest, strong upper, probably got a strong back because you've been doing hella rows and stuff. But a lot of us skip leg day, and when you skip leg day, you'll see a lot of bros go into deadlifting, and the first thing that happens is boop, their hips pop up because they're not trusting in their legs and they want to deadlift completely with their back. So what the front squat does is puts the strength and the focus and the trust back into the quads, push through the ground. You build that ta-ta like that, and you also build the ta-ta back here. Moving on to the next accessory. My next favorite deadlift accessory is super old school. Not that many people do it anymore, which makes me sad, but it is the classic good morning. Why do I like the good morning? Well, number one, it's a great posterior chain builder, which is the ta, 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 you know, your hammies, your glutes, your erectors, ta, ta, builds your whole backside, and it trains you to be strong in your weakest position, right? Usually when you're deadlifting, off the floor is where people have trouble. If you can't lift it here, you're definitely not gonna finish. But if you could build enough speed, sometimes just with ta, you're able to complete the deadlift. So that's why I like the good morning, because if you watch from the side, you start the good morning technically from your weakest conventional position. So even for me, when I'm doing good mornings, if I'm training just posterior, like I'm doing it from like a hypertrophy or a bodybuilding point of view, I might get a little bit wider, you know, to get more that glute activation. But if I'm training the good morning specifically for conventional, I'll go straight up in a conventional stance. So the stance that we talked about earlier, where you go ballerina, salsa, ta, 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 bam, activate. Slowly sit back, and you'll notice that you want to keep your shins almost perpendicular, and you don't want your shins to come forward. Sometimes it will as you get heavier, but your goal is to sit back and stretch those hamstrings, and you'll notice this bottom position right here is the starting position of a conventional deadlift. So you're training something, you're training your conventional in the weakest position, which is why I really, really like it. And you get to use lighter weight, so you don't have that stress, you don't have that fatigue, and then you get to have a different training stimulus, and you don't really have to go heavy on these. I usually probably never even go past 185, and I do it for higher reps, and you'll feel your butt, your erectors, your hammies get lit on fire, and it's a tried and true exercise. So if you have problems with speed coming off the floor, definitely give these bad boys a go. One thing I forgot to mention about front squats that I reminded myself when I was talking about good mornings, exercises, come on, by themselves, don't have a right or wrong, right? They're just neutral. It was invented because it engaged a certain muscular structure or a certain skeletal structure. How you use it is where it's right or wrong. So with good mornings, I showed if you want to build that butte, you would just do it with the wider stance. But if you want to build the deadlift, you would do it more specific to how you deadlift. So with the front squats, you'll notice every time I max out, I'm wearing heels, right? I probably got heels, I got knee sleeves, and that's because I'm training the front squat for a big front squat. When I'm training the front squat for my conventional, I want to be as application specific as possible. So for me, I'm never gonna deadlift in heels. So that's why when I'm doing my front squats for the deadlift, flats and no knee sleeves. So that's something to keep in mind, and also as close to conventional width as possible. I'm not front squatting like this, which I probably could and be even more upright. I'm not wearing heels, I'm not wearing knee sleeves. I'm trying to keep it as close to the way as I deadlift as possible, so that when I'm pulling, all the training that I have through the accessories, all those cues and those muscular, neural, sexual patterns are all engaging at the right time. So my last and final favorite deadlift accessory is the bent over row. As you guys know, I freaking love pull-ups. That is ultimately my favorite back exercise. But when we're trying to accomplish a goal, we need to be more strategic versus what we like. So, which is why I am putting a heavy focus on bent over rows in this program. I don't do it on my deadlift days because I already have so many compound movements that I'm completely taxed, right? I have high intensity, decently high volume on the deadlifts, then I got front squats, then I got good mornings. All of these require 2 muscle groups. So if I do bent over rows, I'm not gonna be able to give it my all. So I put bent over rows on the next day in this free program, which you guys could download on upper body day, which I'm gonna hit back anyways. So why I like the bent over row is, one, everything we've been talking about is application specific. So the position that you're gonna get in mimics the deadlift, right? You grab the bar, pretty much get in a deadlift stance, hold the bar almost in a deadlift stance, and you sit your hips back. Try to keep your shins perpendicular like a deadlift, and now you activate the lats and you pull to your stomach. And you wanna pull as deep as possible. As they call it, like put your hands in your pockets. And the more you can go in a deadlift position, the better. So if another variation is the Pendlay rows, which is directly off the floor. For me, I like doing the bent over row because with my travel, sometimes I'm working on hex plates. Sometimes I'm working on an actual legit bar. Sometimes I'm on a commercial gym bar, and they all feel different, and then throws my Pendlay rows off. So I try to have as much consistency in my program as possible, which is why I figured bent over rows is the best. Doesn't matter what shape this is, where the grip is on this, I can get like the same movement and still increase load this way. So the bent over rows work the lats, which are extremely important. We're keeping the bar close to your body as you're doing the deadlift, and you're holding yourself in an isometric position as you're doing the bent over rows. So it's also strengthening your erectors, your quads, your hamstrings, and your glutes to maintain that tight position and being able to breathe with an engaged core. Because sometimes when you're deadlifting, you might run out of breath, you know? And so all of this stuff, your endurance, all plays into how much you can deadlift and how much you can train for your deadlift. So those are my 3 favorite exercises. Front squats for speed off the floor, engaging that push-pull cue, we got the good mornings for strengthening the, you know what I'm talking about? And then the bent over rows for the lats, and that's it. This is episode 4, my favorite deadlift accessories. Give these a try. Let me know in the comments below what are some of your favorites. We can share and make this a community, because there might be some really dope ones that, you know, it's a hidden secret and we want to share so we can all get strong together. Stay tuned for next week. Next week is episode 5, and it's gonna be a raw vlog style. So once again, I gotta hit a big, heavy deadlift, and I'll walk you guys through my thought process, what I do, what goes through my mind throughout the whole training. So stay tuned. Peace.